consent the amendment be accepted as read. And, Mr. President, I rise today to offer a deficit-neutral reserve fund amendment to the budget that would allow the chairman of the Budget Committee to revise allocations to provide for a simplified, income-driven repayment program for federal student loans. This budget amendment is offered with the hope that it would allow for legislation similar to the Repay Act, which I introduced earlier this Congress with Senator King, Senator Alexander, Senator Warner, Senator Shaheen, Senator Ahat, Rubio, Capito, Collins, and Carper. And let me spend just a moment, if I can, telling my colleagues what the Repay Act would do. It's very simple. It would streamline the numerous loan repayment programs into two easily understood options for those who take out student loans. One, it would create a fixed repayment program similar to current law's 10-year standard repayment. Two, it would create a new simplified income-driven repayment program that consolidates numerous income-based programs into one. As we know today, students that go to college have to take out a number of different loans. And it's confusing in the system to know exactly what that repayment system looks like, especially for somebody who's trying to determine their job opportunities and the income that they need to meet their debt. This allows that consolidation and simplification so that a student understands exactly what their exposure is almost from the very beginning. Students would be left with a very simple set of choices upon graduation. Do I choose a fixed payment plan that will pay off my loans in straight 10 years? Or do I take a simplified income-driven repayment plan and pay a little longer and have the remaining loan balance forgiven after 20 or 25 years, depending upon whether it's undergraduate or graduate loans? Now, this is important for a few reasons, which I'll illustrate from quotes that have been made by many associations and of financial aid administrators who endorse the Repay Act. One, a quote, "Consolidating the various federal income-based programs into a single plan will help borrowers understand the benefits and protections inherent in our federal student loan system." Two, and I quote, "Despite many protections in existing repayment plans, a frustrating number of student loan borrowers continue to default. This is due in part to the fact that the options require borrowers to take proactive and cumbersome steps to enroll," unquote. And the last three, quote, "This proposal to collapse the different plans into one single income-based repayment plan should help ease the enrollment process for borrowers," unquote. Not only does this sort out the repayment obligations that a student has, it makes the enrollment easier, and this comes from the individuals who are responsible for the implementation of these programs. Now, those quotes are from associations representing financial and administrators across the country. They're people who are on the front lines of helping students as they prepare for payment after college. We should listen to them, and I say that strongly to my colleagues. We should listen to them. The other benefits of this legislation is that students will know prior to entering college, based on the amount that they borrow, what options will be available to them once they graduate from college. I know that seems like common sense to a lot of folks, but if you haven't been through the student loan process today, then you don't realize that they don't have that clarity today as they enter college that this will allow them to have. This will promote better consumer behavior. It will lessen the chance students default based upon a confusion of the viable options that they have available to them. Now, I would think from policymakers, our attempt would always be one, does the plan fit the need of the individuals it's targeted for? Clearly, the student loan program does. But two, Have we done this in a way that's simple, understandable, and workable? Because if we can't answer that question and we don't check that box, the likelihood is the net result is that we have defaults, individuals who don't live up to repaying their obligation. When a student graduates, they face up to 12 repayment options available to them, all with some overlapping purpose or benefit and with great complexity in how you actually sign up for the options. Again, the Repayment Act, 2 options: 10-year straight repayment or a repayment that's structured based upon what your income is. Now, Senator King and I think this makes, for good policy, the Repay Act, but we think it makes for bad policy to have 12 cumbersome options that overlap in some cases. Now, based upon preliminary scores from CBO and estimates from President Obama, since he's proposed much of what we do in the Repay Act, we believe the legislation will save in the area of $4 billion over the next 10 years and $1 to $2 billion over the next 5. That's up to $6 billion in savings in the student loan program that we could pump back in to additional loan value for students in the future. Now, unlike other options that we have, that we'll be voting on today, that cost money and pay for it by raising taxes, we save money by making our program more efficient and better suited for students' needs. So, Mr. President, for my colleagues who might be asking, how do I vote on this? I've got to tell you, you got to wait to have a comparison bill. There'll be one. And I want you to ask yourself, which one saves $4 billion? And which one costs more money? Which one uses the allocations that are currently there? And which one raises taxes to put in place a new plan? This amendment and the Repay Act is bipartisan, overwhelmingly so. And if the bipartisan list of co-sponsors to the Repay Act isn't enough, many of the recommendations that are formed in this legislation came from the President's very own budget. This legislation also has the support of the Education Financial Council, the American Council on Education, the National Association of Student Aid Administrators, as well as the University of North Carolina system, which is important to me since I represent North Carolina. So in short, this amendment represents legislation that is 1, bipartisan, 2, saves money, 3, is based on the ideas and proposals of the President, and 4, has the support of the industry who's responsible for the success of student loan programs. Success means easy enrollment. Success means repayment of the outstanding debt. So with that, Mr. President, I yield the floor and urge my colleagues, when given the opportunity, vote for Amendment 622, a bipartisan sponsored initiative. I yield the floor.